Okay, so we're going to work on this cover journal topper today. I got this idea from, I watched Corey Dahman a couple of days ago, and she had actually made it before, and she got inspiration from Gail Augustinelli. So I'll link Corey's video from a couple of days ago here, and then you can follow that line if you want to see more. I made a bigger one here first. And what this is it's a little kind of a, I think she called it a ladder or a puzzle. And it's got all these little pockets going every which way, and it's a really cute little element. So I made one to put on one of my pages in the journal, and I decided that would be a neat way to make a cover as well. So I made this cover piece, and I have a printable for those who are in the Inspired Junk Journals kit, and that'll be linked below. And these just pull out every which way, and then there's a flap here with a decorative piece. I'm going to, like I did on my original inspiration here, the journal that I made a little while ago, I have a tie that I glued underneath, and then this opens like this. This time I put the schedule in here. So I'm going to do something similar with this one. When I go to glue that on, I'll put a tie under there. So it opens like that, and then it also opens like this. And then we have a pocket there, and you can stick in, you know, different pieces of ephemera or whatever you want in those pockets as well. So I'm going to show you how to make this. Stay tuned. All right, so if you are part of the Inspired Junk Journalers, then these papers are over on the coffee shop for you to pick up for free. And there's 2 pages for this. This one is what we're going to, well, these 4, well, you can use them however you like, but what I'm going to do is use these 4 for building my pockets on the front. These 2 are going to be for pockets on the inside. So all of these pieces are 2.5 by 5 inches. So if you're not part of the group, or you want to use your own papers, you need 6 pieces that are 2.5 by 5 inches. And then the other piece is, this is the flap. And the flap, if you're not, if you don't have the kit, is 7.5 inches by 4 inches. 7.5 long by 4 inches. And we're going to do a score at 3.5, and then a score at 7, and then a 1/2 inch for a flap. So these ones already have kind of the score lines built in, but if you were just using one solid piece, that's what you would need. And then these are our insert cards, and they are 2 inches by 4 inches. So, oh, and then you also need one piece that is 10 inches by 5 inches, and this is going to be our base. And we're going to score this in half. I'll show you the steps afterwards, but this one is not in this kit, so you can just pick whichever sheet that you like out of all the journal pages and cut one piece to 5 inches by 10 inches. So I'm just going to get the rest of these cut out, and I'll show you the steps to put this together. Okay, so I have all my pieces cut out. I scored this one in the middle. Because when you print these things out, well, this one shouldn't matter because you're cutting it at exactly 10 inches. But if you have something that you want to score in half, it's easier to do it this way and then just make a score, because this one is slightly over 5 inches. You just get, you know, if you score it at exactly 5 inches, then you might get a little bit of overhang, which is not a big deal, but just, I usually do that if I'm doing something right in half. I use my scoreboard for that. So there is that. And then these are the 4 that I've chosen for the front weaving that I'm going to do. These are the 2 that are going to be my inside pockets. And then this is my front flap. So I've inked around it, I've scored in the middle, or on that line that line there and scored on that line and inked around this part, and then I just inked around this fold there. So this is not that complicated to do. It looks more complicated at the end than it is, and it's a really fun thing to do. So what you want to do is you want to fold your 5.5 inch or 5 by 10 inch piece in half and have your white side or your blank side facing up. This is a one-sided piece. This side will be glued to your cover, so we don't need anything there, and this is where we'll build our weaved pockets. So take your 4 pieces that you're going to use for your weaved pockets and lay them out how you would like them. So if I do it like that for mine, I want these things to show, so I'll go under that one over this one like that, and then under that one over this one. Does that make sense? Like you're under over. So then you have your diagonals match, and it all should fit exactly on your cover like that. So then what you need to do, or if you want to ink, this is what you need to do, is that you can ink on the outside afterwards, but these inner lines you can't easily ink afterwards. So I'm just gonna take one of these out and just ink where I want those inside edges to be inked that will be hard to ink later. So those 2 edges there, this edge here. I mean, I guess you could ink them all if you'd like to, but and then this one here. So that looks like that. So just make sure you have your these 4 and these 4 edges inked. Okay. Then we start building, and I'm going to stitch around this, but first of all, I just want things to kind of stay where they're supposed to stay so I can easily stitch it. Yours might look different than mine, so I'm just going to try to explain it so it'll work for you no matter what. So if you peek under here, you will see that there is a paper here, but no paper here. This goes straight onto the cover, our white piece. So I'm going to put just a dot of glue. Actually, I'm going to put a dot there and 1 dot on either side so that it doesn't have a chance to swivel and move around. And then I'm just going to take that piece and attach that there, like that. And that should all still line up like that. Okay. Then we need to rotate it and peek underneath and see where there's just white again. So I'm going to put a dot on the edge and a dot on those 2 sides, just like that. And then I'll attach this piece like there. Oops. If you're not going to sew, then you need to put more glue. You'll want to put glue all the way to your middle edge, there and there. Then we'll rotate it and we'll peek underneath, and here is our white edge. So we put a drop in there, a drop there, and a drop there. I hope this is making sense. I'm not sure how else to explain this. And then we attach that one. If you're kind of confused by this, just take a couple of pieces of just scrap copy paper or whatever and cut them in 2.5 by 5 inch strips, and just kind of, you know, get the feel for the weaving, and then try it with your good stuff. Okay, then we rotate again another 1/4 turn, and we have this one that is white, so we'll put that one there. And at this point, things should start to be easier to line up. Things are starting to get a little bit straighter on the bottom there. Okay, so then at this point, we should have, I think everything is attached in some fashion. Okay, and then I think I would put a little bit more glue just to keep things from moving when and we don't want to put glue in the middle because that's our pockets. So we're always keeping the glue just to our edges. So I'm going to put a drop of glue there and a drop of glue, so on this side and this side, like that. Just on these ones that are the top flaps, and a drop of glue there and a drop of glue there, like that. And this one. And one more. And just like that. There, so now we should have everything attached loosely. But we should have still a pocket here, a pocket here, a pocket here, and a pocket here. I get confused too. So what I want to do now is stitch around this. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to stitch around these 4 edges, and then I'll come right back. And if you're not stitching, then you need to make sure all of these edges are glued just on the outside edge. You don't want any glue anywhere else. All right, so I stitched around all 4 sides there. I'm just going to ink around the outside edges now. Actually, before I do that, if you just turn over your paper, there may be slight bits of overhang, which I have just a little smidge right there. I'm not going to cut through my stitches until I get a spot of glue on there. And maybe just a tiny smidge here. I mean, you could cover this up easily with ink too, but it's just a tiny smidge. But if your squares get a little wonky on the front, you may have a little more, which is totally fine. Just trim it off and carry on. So I'm just going to ink on the outside edges now. And then I'm going to put a drop of glue on the back, or front, doesn't matter really, of where the stitches started and stopped. Just use a glue that dries clear for this, and then just give it a moment to dry. One thing I didn't mention is if you're gluing a little bit here and then you go to your sewing machine, you really should wait for your glue to completely dry before you go into your sewing machine, because it can gum up your needle and make a mess of your sewing machine. I didn't do that this time, but I usually remember. All right, so then the next thing that we want to do is we want to take our flap and we want to attach that to the front here. And this flap is made to go over the front and flap out like this. So you could leave this open and have a flap like that. You could put a notch here and have a pocket, because that's going to be two sides here. So you could glue together just on those 3 sides and make a pocket up at the front. I've decided just to glue mine together. So I'm just going to put some glue stick in here. I like putting the glue stick in the middle especially. It adds a nice bit of body to your papers, and it makes it so that the middle doesn't get baggy, kind of, which I don't really like. Okay, so there's that, and then I want to glue this onto here. And you could have sewn this when you were sewing the rest, just opened it up and sewed here. But then we're going to put this behind a pocket, and then you're going to have to deal with this a little bit. So I thought it's just easier probably to glue this one. So I'll just put some glue on there, making sure you go right to the edge there. And you can line this up at the top, at the bottom, in the middle. I think I'm going to do it almost at the bottom. I don't know why, it just looks good to me right now. So just make sure this is glued really well here. There. So then make sure your flap is working correctly, like that. Then on the inside we have these two for pockets, and you can do two pockets like this. You can do well, you probably want one here because that's what's going to hide our flap there. This is kind of how I made it, to do one here and one here, but you could do one here and one here, whichever way that you like. So I've decided to do it this way. So I need a notch, or if you're going to put notches in, I'm going to put a notch here and here. So I'm just going to measure the center here. So I'll just line that up at 2.5, and I'll punch them together. You can use a circle punch. Sometimes I like an oval punch. It just makes a wider but shallower notch, which I kind of like. So then I would just give those a little bit of ink. Hopefully you guys are hanging in there. I know that front is a little bit complicated when you first see it. I mean, it's not complicated, but so then I want to glue on 3 sides here like this. If you're a little bit hesitant to try it, give it a try, like I said, with the scrap paper first, because it's really not that hard, and it's it looks really effective. You know, it's something different. So then I would just line this up at the edge here. Just glue that on. Use my brayer maybe to. And then this one I will glue on 3 sides this way. I live on a farm, and this time of year we have lots of farming equipment coming by on our normally quiet road here, so I apologize for the noise coming through the window there. This one, you don't want it to interfere with the fold there, so you may want to overlap it just a smidge on the other side, which I did, and then I'll trim that off here. Just, you know, this much. All right, so that's there. I did ink around these edges, but now that I've got this all put together and I trimmed that off a little bit, I'll just give it another bit of quick ink. And then here's the 4 cards. If you're part of the kit, I made 4 cards here. This is a map of Canaan, an old map of the Promised Land. This is a postcard of a church. This is a map or a illustration of the tabernacle in the desert. And this is some praying hands. So that's what I selected for here. So these just go into all of the pockets. So you can, you know, this one might look better in that orientation. And probably this one as well. And then here's the tabernacle this side. Come on. It's really not that hard to get these in here, but... And one there. So there, you have your 4 pieces in there. 4 tuck spots. You could put a pocket there if you like, but if not, you have a flap. And then this opens up and like that.